Shiori had a pen. It wasn't any normal pen, from the looks of it. A quill, if Nerissa wanted to be more accurate. That wasn't that out of the ordinary. She was an archiver after all. The feather had shown in some sort of metallic blue. The odd thing was that it felt familiar. Every time the demon sees her in the home, they decide to stay in after the breach. Her vision locks onto the feather that hangs loosely around her hips, unable to contain her curiosity about its origin. Got something you wanted to ask, Risa? Shiori's teasing jolts her out of her trance, making her shake her head to get back to reality, or to deny her question, whichever was convenient. Maybe. That was enough to say. Nerissa always felt as though Shiori could get any sort of reaction from her. She felt played in a way that doesn't feel as bad as she thought it would. She felt seen, known down to the very detail of how she is. It's interesting, if not terrifying, knowing the fact that they only met in a cell after their capture. She hears her hum, sees her piercing yellow eyes study her every move, her expression, her every twitch, gaining attention that the raven wants to look away. She can't, she knows. The archiver has always been a magnet of some sort to her, making her gravitate around her. It was an odd feeling, especially after leaving the cell. Aren't you curious about what this quill can do? Shiori twirls it around, catching Nerissa's attention. Her eyes follow it, unknowingly being teased, as the archiver notices and turns the feather in different directions. Where it came from, Shiori presses the quill to her lips, ever so slightly, making Nerissa jolt, reddening out of nowhere. What it can possibly mean to you. The demon sees her wide grin, and she knows no answer will be taken out of her that day, though there is one trick that she hopes would work. Would you tell me a story about it then? Her voice was of her usual tone, a bit teasing and hopeful. Shiori's grin widens. Perhaps another day. It would be too much information for you. Information you made me hold. And Shiori leaves it at that, walking away with a giggle and a strained smile. That was odd. Different. That was new. Nerissa was tempted to chase after her, and yet she was stupefied by such implications. What does that even mean? She knew her before being imprisoned? How? Nerissa knew she was an archiver, knew that she was imprisoned for the sole reason of knowing too much, and yet it surprises her that there's something about her that she knows. Something about herself that even she did not know. Did she choose to forget? What was the reason? The implications had her brain empty of anything else for days. The twins and Biju was already getting worried for her, offering her some toys or some food, anything really. Nerissa simply smiles and thanks them, graciously accepting before returning the toys to Mokoko, or eating a little before putting it back in the fridge. They got increasingly worried. Shiori notices everything, of course. Your stair has been quite far away, Risa. The others are worried for you. Are you? Nerissa refrains from asking, simply humming in acknowledgement. She stood in one of the place's balconies, staring off as the sun sets fully, the evening sky waiting for the last wisp of sunlight before unveiling its sea of stars. Shiori stands next to her, admiring the sky as it changed. It's still in my mind, you know. That thing you said. About? Nerissa didn't want to be the one to say it, but the archiver made it quite difficult for her. The feather. My horn. Is it connected to my horn? I know you mentioned that you knew where it is, and yet you wouldn't tell me. Nerissa faces her, and she was surprised by the frown that adorned her face. She looked stunned, as if calculating whether to tell her or to withhold such information. She practically sees gears turning before she sees her close her eyes. A small smile now replacing the frown. Well then, shall I tell you a story? It's quite lengthy. I'm not sure if you'd be interested in such trivial things. Trivial? Was her curiosity trivial? She tries to ignore it. I have time, Nerissa convinces her, and the archiver jumps to sit on the ledge, facing away from the horizon they were so intent on watching just a few minutes ago. I see. Let's see. Where shall we start? She stalls. Nerissa notices and waits patiently, knowing the game she plays now. She watches as Shiori closes her eyes, as if feeling the cold night wind, as if it helps her reminisce, as if it helps her jog her memory. There we go, she pauses, and grabs the quill from her waist, raising it up to inspect it closely. Nerissa simply watches her. Little Shiori was a very curious child, always looking at, around the garden, the yard, the woods. One day, little Shiori wandered off a little too far and saw a raven. Nerissa perks up at that, blinking as she can't recall such a memory. She knows the archiver's use of little Shiori to denote a past of her, a past self, but she doesn't recall a memory of her before the cell. The raven was one of the most beautiful things she had seen, and little Shiori wanted a closer look. She alerts the raven, and instead of being afraid or startled by such sudden intrusion, it smiled at her. It was a very gentle smile. I remember it vividly. I don't remember meeting you this way, Nerissa whispers. Shiori only smiles. Oh, but the story's only just begun. It continues, you see. Little Shiori started to continue meeting this raven. Now this raven had the ability to speak, sing even, but it never did. At least not in front of little Shiori. All she did was smile and nod, let out a chuckle if she was lucky. The raven gives her a flower, one that sprouted from her horns. Little Shiori accepted it with awe and interest. Nerissa reaches up to her horn, picking off a flower and studying it, hoping that she could remember such interactions. The next gift was a feather. She plucks it from her wing feathers, one of the longest ones, trims it, and cuts its nib to perfectly function as a quill. It broke after some time, and little Shiori only replaced the tip with some sort of metal much later, and it seems as though there was no more danger after that. The raven... Shiori pauses, glancing at her before continuing, started to speak, to sing such a wonderful tune. Awe was the only emotion little Shiori felt at that moment. However, disaster seems to have struck after that. Nerissa's breath hitches, anticipating what's to happen. The raven was found by the gods, and thus punished for the driving mortals to insanity. Little Shiori did not understand the offense, as she watched helplessly, seeing one of her horns break off into two. She was okay when she had seen her, but perhaps she was plenty mad already that it didn't affect her any longer, and little Shiori, for knowing and witnessing the persecution, was also sentenced to prison. For knowing too much. Quite the abrupt end to a blossoming relationship, the archiver shrugs, and Nerissa is simply confused. Why do I not remember this? She was appalled. Shiori saw when they broke her horn in half? What even... That, I don't know. Maybe your horns carry your memories. And with half of one gone, a good chunk of your memory before it was broken was gone. Stored in that little piece of fossil. Nerissa makes an indignant noise at that, and Shiori simply laughs. Wow, really calling me a fossil, Shiorin? After such wonderful storytelling? Nerissa leans on the ledge, throwing back a tease, trying to process the story she was just told. Oh, but it's a normal Thursday night for you, is it not? Nerissa's whine makes her chuckle. Her smile growing dim as the seconds passed. Are you not going to ask what happened to your horn? Clearly you know that I know of its location. Shiori doesn't look too happy to share, is all that Nerissa noticed. She wanted to ask, and yet something pulses in her. Something in her tells her that this is not worth it. She finds danger in a piece of herself that she lost. As much as she wants to be whole again, she wants to keep this piece for as long as she could. That includes not having her horn, she supposes. Nope, she emphasizes with a pop as she stretches. Knowing would be nice, but would I go and get it after that? Would that mean risking to go back to that damn cell just to fix a horn I can leave broken? Without meaning leaving you all just to see if I could get it back? If I think of it like that, well, it doesn't seem quite worth it. She smiles, hoping it was enough reassurance, hoping that there was no guilt left in the knowledge she holds. She sees gears turning in the archiver's eyes before she smiles, a mask Nerissa learns to study in the future. Nerissa doesn't know the extent of things that Shiori knew, or the information she held. There was so much responsibility in just knowing things. That had weighed on her, how the archiver was anything but simple. She wants her to know that she'd be there for her, that she'd follow along her side for as long as she's able to. There's a part of her that cares. A part of her that wants to be trusted by the woman that maybe she just wants to reason. Her horn is an excuse for now. Of course, whatever you wish, Risa. The demon merely sputters, and a giggle echoes into the night. The end.